Hey team, it's Ben here, and in this session what we're going to be covering is a 10-point checklist of all the things that you need to have in place for your 2025 goals. Now, I think this, actually, me and Poppy were talking about this before. Actually, you hear lots of people talk about goals this time of year. I would actually prefer the word commitments. For me, commitments means something that is a non-negotiable. It's something that I am making a commitment to doing. And a goal is something that we're looking to move towards, we're looking to achieve. But a commitment feels so much more final and like committed. I'm actually going to do it. So for your 2025 commitments, here are the things that you need in place. Now, you may be going out, writing your goals over the next couple of days. You maybe have already done these things. Whether or not you've done this already, this will help you enormously. So let's dive in. So the first thing you actually need is a vision. Now, this sounds kind of quite obvious. If you think about this, to set a goal or a commitment, you need to have a vision. But here's there's a couple of nuances around creating vision. The problem with most people's vision creation is it's very small. It's so small. It's like, I want to lose weight this year. And the vision is vague. Maybe it hasn't got a time frame. I want to get healthy this year. It's ambiguous. So your vision actually needs to be very, very descriptive. It needs to be vivid. Now, vivid is the word that we're looking for here, because the science behind this, and this fascinated me when I heard it, is that unless we create a vivid vision of the future, we will default to a clearer vision that we've lived through in our past. That makes perfect sense. Think about what our brain is constantly trying to do. It's trying to make us safe. It's trying to find certainty. So unless we create certainty in our vivid picture of the future, we'll simply just default to our past patterns. And that made so much sense for me. So you need a process, or you need something that's going to help you create a vivid vision. Now, go back to your goal if you've already written it, or if you're about to write it, make sure you've got this in place, that you're very, very, very prescriptive. You get into the detail. There's like this, I do an exercise with clients called the perfect day exercise. And I get them to get really granular with that perfect day, what it looks like, even down to what they're drinking, what they're eating, how they're feeling, all these tiny little details. I want them to live in that day as much as possible. One of the things, actually, as I'm going through this whole session, I'm going to put this in the link in the podcast as well. I've got two things. There's a scorecard, which will help you assess all of these things I'm about to talk about. But also, I've got something called the vision creation system. It's probably going to help you with 90% of what I talk about in this video. So the second thing is a way to operationalize that vision. Now, here's the thing that has to happen quite quickly as well. Once we've created a vision, we have to take shots at that vision. And this is leveraging what is called event action. Now, here's the truth around event action, is that the time in which you take action after the event is directly proportional to the likelihood that you'll take action. So what that means is, if I create a vision and I park it for a couple of days, maybe even a couple of weeks, maybe even a month or two, and I don't take any action at all, the likelihood of me taking action on that vision is really, really low. So what you've got to simultaneously be able to do, this is a skill, is take imperfect shots straight away and have a strategy and some actions you can take. For example, you decide on January 1st that you're going to go and transform your health. On January 1st, you email the gym and you make that commitment. And that's the difference between someone who's going to get results and someone who isn't. Because what happens is, the person who isn't is going to say, I'm going to transform my health. And then they'll wait until January 14th or 20th to go and take action. And that person is way less likely to take action. So you need a way to operationalize that vision. And that's two things: taking action right away, or having a strategy in place where you've broken down, sometimes it's quite nebulous, quite big goal, into daily tasks. Like if I've got a goal this year and I'm breaking it down into tasks, like part of it is like I did one podcast a week last year, and I moved that to two this year. So like kind of really, really simple things. And that will really, really help you, because what that will create is momentum, and momentum is everything when it comes to goal achievement. The third thing, what will help you also with momentum, is removal of old commitments. Now, I love that saying, is that we don't achieve the goal because of the goal or how big the goal is. We don't achieve the goal because of commitments to lesser goals. Now, what this means is that you've got a certain capacity to achieve your goals. And for me, that was like last year, I got rid of so many old commitments that, albeit they were great commitments and they may have had value in my life, they weren't as valuable as me committing fully to the Leaders Tribe, growing that. And so I aggressively removed anything that was taking my bandwidth, even having my time, even confusing my market about what I really did. I got rid of that, because what that did is it helped me go all in. And I love that question, where could you go all in where you're holding back? And for me, aggressive removal of pathways to lesser goals is part of your checklist. Now, when you're setting your goal, this is like, honestly, this is what I believe about goal setting. People use incomplete goal setting techniques. They just create the vision and it ignores so much of what else has to happen afterwards. So we get the goal, we make sure we operationalize it, and then we aggressively remove everything that isn't the goal. Just even like there's loads of examples in this, and I always used to come across this in body transformation, is that guys would come into the gym and say they want to gain or they want to lose weight, yet they wanted to keep muscle mass, and they were conflicted, so they could never do either. They were trying to eat loads and lose body fat, and they would just never get anywhere. So you've actually got to decide on your goal and aggressively remove any other goal that isn't that goal. So that's really helpful when you do that. And I see people, when they actually do that, it means it's way, way faster and more effective when it comes to reaching your goal. The next thing is create a list of who's. Now, that's something I haven't done yet. I'm about to do it in the next couple of days, which is a list of people who are your who's. Now, when it comes to an inflection point, when it comes to any sort of exponential shift in your life, in your career, in your goal achievement, that isn't going to come from a how. It's not going to be a how that actually gets you there. It's probably going to be a who. And if I was to backtrack across my whole career, like I started, I worked so what happened was I went to university, came back, did loads of PT qualifications, but I also couldn't fund it because I wasn't having enough personal training clients. So I worked in a college. And so I worked in a college until I was around about 22, 23. And I think it was 22. And then what happened is I hired my first mentor. And I went from, and this is where I had my first inflection point, I had a mentor that helped me earn exactly the same amount of money that I was taking between 10 and 11 hours a day to earning that same money in 1 to 2 hours a day. So that was my first 10x, my first inflection. That was a who. It was actually Paul Mort. So I hired Paul Mort as my mentor. He was my bootcamp mentor. I created a bootcamp, and that bootcamp became instantly successful. It was quite instant. It was a really overnight success. And then what happened was that inflection point carried on. But if I was to look across all of the times where I've had an inflection in my personal success, it's been a who. I've either hired someone, I've either brought someone into my life, I've either enrolled with a mentor or a coach. And I can see this, I hired a guy called Glenn Bridges. He was my coach. I went from charging £300 for personal transformations to £3,000. And it was like a 10x. It was a real 10x because he showed me the thinking that I needed to have in order to create that level of transformation, A, in my clients, but B, in my own thinking. A list of potential who's. This could be people that you hire in your business. It could be a list of people who you might want to work with. Really, really helpful. A place to make and keep commitments. That's number 5. You need a place to make and keep commitments. That's what the Leaders Tribe is. That's what I do with leaders. I provide them a space to make a commitment to themselves and to a group and keep it, because we are flawed as human beings. We actually are flawed in that when we don't have other people around us, A, holding a standard which we want to uphold, but B, where we make verbal commitments to, what happens is we shirk those commitments, we hide from them. Now, yes, of course, as a self-governed individual, you probably have made a commitment to yourself in the past and kept it. But on the whole, you're going to be more successful if you have these people around you to make and keep commitments to. And it's not that they even have to check in with you. Is that you create the level of autonomy and accountability where you're just like, yeah, I've made that commitment to them, I'm going to keep it. Because what that does is it really weighs on the value of your word. And that's really, really powerful as a leader as well. So a place to make and keep commitments. The next thing, this is a simple one, a big ass calendar. Now, for me, that is, there's one here, I'm putting all my stuff in on Friday. And it's just a big place where I can visually see my commitments to certain campaigns. It could be certain events. It's things that I've got in my personal life, my professional life. It's just a visual commitment place. But it's like, this is something that I learned about commitments, is that commitments are visible. And what I mean by that is that there's a famous saying in coaching, show me your calendar and I'll show you your commitments. And if I've got nowhere I can repeatedly see my commitments, like part of commitment is recommitment. It's, oh my gosh, yes, I've got this coming up. I need to recommit to making sure the things are out, that I've communicated it to my clients, to my colleagues, to whoever. And so having a big visual space where you can see that on a repeated basis it's absolutely so important. Here's another thing as well, is that when I've got a client metric dashboard, like when I'm trying to fill a program, or whenever if I'm trying to grow my business, if I'm trying to grow a certain number, that number needs to be visual. I remember in my first gym, we had the client balance written on a whiteboard in the left-hand side of the office. And I remember the payoff I used to get as I circled that number, minus or plus, or it was never a payoff when it was a minus. But as that number climbed from 80 to 90 to 120, that was a big, big payoff for me and the team. So make sure your commitments are visible and your results are visible. Calendars are really helpful for that. A visual dashboard is helpful for that. Think about how you're doing that for yourself this year for your commitments. The next one, and this is something that I really, really took from my work in body transformation, is a way to track your habits and behaviors. Now, I remember when I did a transformation with my buddy Simon Chivers in probably like when I was like 28, 29. And one of the commitments I made to him is like, I will do every set, every rep, I'll eat every calorie, I'll make sure every meal is as I said it would be. And I used an app actually called Way of Life. If you've got the app store on your Apple phone, it's called Way of Life, and it's a habit tracking app. And all I did is I put 5 habits that were absolutely essential for my body transformation in that app. And what I wanted to see over 12, how close to perfect I could get for that commitment. Like drinking 5 liters of water, eating X amount of protein, walking X amount of steps. I can't remember what the other 2 were. And what that happened over the first, 8 weeks is that was near on perfect. It was near on perfect. Actually, my mum got ill at week 8. But the thing is, what happened was I had so much momentum from checking in on that app and seeing how diligent I'd been. And what I'd created was, I would call momentum pressure. It was like there was so much reason to carry on because I didn't want to drop the button. I didn't want to break the habit. Apps like Duolingo use the same thing. And so when you can track your habits and behaviors, you can actually track the improvement. Now, here's the thing: is like, for example, a lot of my clients, when they are trying to implement things and change the way that they take action, is deep work is one of the things that they're trying to get way better at. Is like, I have 3 1 to 2 hour blocks in my calendar where I create something, and that's all I do. Now, week 1, they may only get 1 hour out of the 3 done because it's such a big change for them. But week 2, they get 2 out of the 3 deep work blocks done. But the thing is, they might be defeatist and say, I haven't done 3. Whereas me as their coach can go, hang on a second, you're doing 3 hours of deep work. 2 weeks ago, you were doing none. And what we can then gauge is that improvement. So having a way to track your change behaviors is really, really important, and it will help you enormously when it comes to creating momentum and keeping momentum. So that's number 7. Number 8, a coach. Imperative. I'm going to say that because I'm biased, because I'm a coach, but the biggest shifts I've had personally and I've seen for clients is when they've had a coach. Now, a coach, especially when it comes to like a coach's role, is helping you create a future. That's really what a coach is there to do. A therapist helps you with the past. A coach helps you create a future. Now, what a coach will do, a coach will help you create a future and then do what I said earlier, which is take actions into that future. That's kind of what I'm doing with my clients all the time. Is like, okay, let's look at the goal. What's the vision? What's the future? What's the action that's going to take you there today? What's going to be the one step you can take today, this week, this month? And that is the role of a coach. Now, what a coach can also do, a coach can help you with that operationalizing process. A coach can help you stay accountable. A coach can help you with some of the thinking that gets in the way when it comes to reaching your goal. So absolutely having a checklist, having some sort of coaching system in place where you're being coached, whether it's you go into your employer at work and ask for, is there a coach that you can get through work? Is that you hire a coach, you actually get in touch with a coach that you find helpful and you find that you'd work well with, get in touch with them and say, would you be open to having an enrollment call? Most great coaches will have some sort of enrollment system, whether it's a workshop, whether it's a one-on-one call. That's always a way to explore coaching. So definitely have that in place. The next one is number 9, a process for action and forecast. Now, this is something that I probably did way better last year, more so than ever before. Actually, I remember back when I was like 5, I used to sit on a Monday morning in the coffee shop and I just used to forecast. And I used to use all the F's, like food, focus, fitness, family, finance, faith, and fun. And I used to grade them all from 0 to 10. And that was my review. I review the week of all the things that I'd done over the last, say, 7 days. Food, how was my nutrition, my focus, how well was I focusing, fitness, what was my training like, then I'd had family, finance, faith, and fun. And what I would do is I just grade them from 0 to 10. And it was so quick, I could do that in 2 minutes. And then all I needed to do was forecast what did I need to do in that week in order to make them 1 point better. Now, here's the problem, is that sometimes we always want to go from like a 3 to a 10. But what we often need is just progress. Now, for example, say you're having a relationship struggle and you grade your relationship a 2 out of 3, 2 out of 10. What you actually want to ask yourself is like, well, what would make that a 3? What would make that 3 into a 4? And just that little bit of improvement is so much more manageable and easy to do. But most people fail on this when they try and go from a 3 to a 10. So that's like, if you think about it, over 4 weeks, then your relationship would get 4 points better, which would be a marked difference if you were at a 3 and you went to something like a 7 or an 8. So that is, you need a process for reflection and forecast. So even on a Friday, just using a Friday as like wins, struggles, and lessons every Friday, that is imperative, because unless you reframe the past and you turn it into a lesson, it will stay as a struggle. Like, that's something I've learned probably in the last 12 weeks more so than ever, is until we change the narrative of our past traumas and struggles into lessons and even wins, they stay as struggles and traumas. And like that's what I've really liked. Reframing the past and reframing the past has led to me feeling way more empowered and confident. So that's a huge one, number 9. And then the final one is a set of non-negotiables. What are your staples? Like for me, there's a couple of, and most of them are linked to my health, is that three liters of water a day minimum, and exercise is a minimum. Like that's like they're the 2 non-negotiables. And I've noticed that when I do those things, I'm way better elsewhere. So for me, one of the rules around exercise is that if it is the word today, if it's today, I am training. But that training doesn't necessarily need to be something like a massive run or a hard gym session. A training session could be a walk. It could be some yoga. It could be something. But it's just that I'm moving my body. I think training is probably the wrong word. It's activity, but it's intentional activity. And it's an hour long. It's something like 30 minutes long. It's something that really works with your lifestyle. Something I've always believed is that it doesn't need to be 90 minutes and 2 hours, 10,000 steps. It needs to be whatever will stay consistent in your life. So when you look at your non-negotiables, this can be, one of the things that me and Poppy talk about in our relationship is we've got a 9 a.m. coffee meet. And as long as we connect at 9 a.m. in the coffee shop, we have 15, 20 minutes where we focus on each other, our relationship, our whole life is better. And that's a non-negotiable for us. We put it in place, we deviated from that, and then we've put it back in because it's like that makes so much difference. It makes us better parents, we connect more, we're happier, we're more of a team. And that is so important. That's called structural discipline. It's putting it in place and keeping it in place and fighting off all of the other things that might get in the way to remove that or get in its way. So that is a really, really important thing to have in to ensure that you reach your 2025 goals and commitments. Team, if you found any of this helpful, there's 2 things that might really, really help you. There's a scorecard, which is in the comments, and what the scorecard will do, it will assess you against 5 things which you need in place to achieve your goals this year. It's really, really helpful. It's super simple. It'll take you 3 minutes to fill out. And then at the end, it will even give you a breakdown of where you need to focus. It's so, so helpful. And the other thing is my vision creation system. It's a really, really helpful piece of, it's actually, it's a Google sheet, right? And what it does, it breaks down a goal setting process, step by step by step. But the actual course walks you through this step by step with 2 to 3 minute videos. So then you understand each part. And when you walk through that, you'll turn a big goal into a process that you can turn into a set of habits. It's really easy. It's £47. It's really, really accessible. So if you want to have a look at that, take a look at it, just tap on the link in the comments. Other than that, see you on the next podcast. Take care.